good, y'all? It's your boy eBay Fight Predictions in the building, and this is your Michael Chandler versus Dustin Poirier breakdown. And I did a 4-fight film study. Man, this was a very, very fun film study to do. I love watching these guys compete. Michael Chandler always has awesome fights. Dustin Poirier always has awesome fights. And man, this matchup is a lot closer than what people are giving the credit for. I feel like, honestly, Chandler has the skill set to win this fight, and I feel like obviously Dustin Poirier has just a resume and ability and just stature and what he's accomplished in his career to obviously win this fight. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things going in for Dustin, but I love this fight. I really, really do. There's obviously the back story of them, you know, bickering, arguing in the crowd. I could show you that little clip right here. You know, them talking mess to each other. You know, first of all, they were nice and cordial with each other at UFC 250, I think 57. You know, they're all cool at the Conor and Dustin thing after the fights, right? Now they're kind of like, they don't like each other a little bit. Dustin feels like he's fake. Chandler was like, he's not a draw. I don't need to fight him. But I love this fight. I really, really do love this fight, man. I can't tell you how much I love this fight stylistically. I love this fight in terms of entertainment. The only thing that makes me sad is that it's a 3-round fight. But this is an awesome fight. And yeah, man, it is insane. And the amount of common opponents both these guys have is crazy to me. But yeah, man, obviously let me pull up the stats real quick. But yeah, I love this. In my opinion, this is the best fight on the whole card. Just in terms of what this brings to the table, how good of a fight this is, man. This is the best fight on the card, man. I really, truly believe that. But obviously, and let me look at the UFC rankings before I even talk about the stats. UFC rankings. And the implications of this fight, since we have a new champion and his name is Islam Makhachev, man, these guys could get themselves into, I wouldn't say #1 contender status, but more or less kind of like, what's it called? In title contention. Real legit, like, you know, maybe in a #1 contender fight. You know, after Beneil gets his title shot, obviously. You know, I'm watching you, Dana. I'm watching you. But yeah, man, obviously Michael Chandler's #5, Dustin Poirier's #2. You know, Dustin's always been that perennial #1 or #2 guy in the division, always. For at least the last, 3 or 4 years, he's been that guy. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, let's look at the stats. Dustin Poirier comes with a record of 28-7, is fighting out of Florida, age 33, a height of 5'9", and reaches 73. Michael Chandler comes with a record of 23-7, is fighting out of Florida too, age 36, a height of 5'8", and a reach 71.5. So those are things I look at, right? Like, I remember Chandler was saying this thing, I think on Ariel's thing, that, oh, you know, Dustin's had the big money fights, you know, he's had the title fights, he's trying to go up to welterweight, he's kind of like over with his career, right? Like almost like he's saying he's like old and past his prime, right? But like, Dustin's 33. People forget how young Dustin is. He's been in the game for a long time. He has a lot of fights, but he's still in his prime. These are prime years. And with all due respect to Chandler, you're out of your prime. He is athletic as a motherfucker, and he might have that Yoel Romero situation where you can't judge him by his age, but he is older. And at lightweight, that does matter. You know, at that weight class, those things matter. When you're the older guy, it just matters. That's just the facts. And I'm sorry if it offends you, but those are the facts. Obviously, he still has the skill set to beat Dustin stylistically. This is a really great matchup. This is his best matchup, in my opinion, in the top 5. In the top 5, some might say Benny, but this one is his best. I honestly can see him winning. As much as, like, at first look going into this, I was like team Dustin really, really hard. Now I'm kind of like 50-50. I'm a spoiler. I'm still team Dustin here. But man, Chandler can win this fight. If he fights smart, and that's the thing. If, all right. But obviously, let's start off with Chandler, though. I looked at 4 fights from him. Some of the fights I looked at, I had to start off with a common opponent they had is Eddie Alvarez, man. The first fight with Eddie Alvarez. Man, what a war that was. God damn, those dudes went to war in that first Eddie Alvarez fight. Obviously, Eddie did get it back in the rematch, but this one, it's insane because, my God, he beat a prime Eddie. And obviously he was a lot younger. This was in 2011. He was more of a wrestler with heavy hands, and he uses wrestling a lot more than he does now. But yeah, man, he hurt Eddie really, really bad. I remember in that first round, just wobbled him. Then he took him down, and then he hurt him again at the end of that first round, I remember. And it just was like, wow, watching this when I was younger. No, I wasn't watching, like, I didn't watch it live, but when I did watch this, like, you know, recently, not recently, but like, you know, 2013, 14, that kind of area, I was like, what the fuck, man? These guys are going to war, right? And this guy, Michael Chandler, is good, right? He has good cardio. That was the myth about Michael Chandler. He had good cardio, and that's what this fight showed, right? He was able to take down Eddie, actually, interestingly enough, in the second round, which was really impressive because Eddie's a good wrestler in his own right. Not like anything special, but he has good takedown defense. He started taking him down at will, and then Eddie started rallying back. He started defending takedowns, and then he started hurting Michael Chandler in that third round. Started putting it on him, and then you could see Chandler kind of wilting a little bit, right? But that myth about his cardio was still there. I'll never forget that. Obviously, Will Brooks and even Eddie Alvarez ended up destroying that myth about Michael Chandler's good cardio. But yeah, so he started wilting a little bit, and then the fourth round goes, right? Fucking Michael Chandler's power saved him, hurts Eddie Alvarez, and then subs him in the fourth round in a crazy scrap. But you could see in that fight with Eddie, man, Eddie, when he started, you know, evading the big power shots and, you know, stuffing the takedowns, Chandler has a very bouncy kind of footwork, and he's in and out, and he really relies on just quick shots, right? Really quick shots. And he's a I wouldn't say he's a brawler by any means. He's actually like somewhat, like in that first round, he's super technical, but he does get away from his technique when the later rounds, and he becomes predictable. You know, really, he has a good straight two to the body, a decent body jab, but really, he's always looking for that lead hook or that overhand right or that, you know, kind of jump in cross. That's really what he's looking for. And when you can kind of figure out that rhythm, he really doesn't have that much after that, and he's just bouncy to be bouncy, and then he shoots for takedowns, and if he can't get takedowns, then he's screwed, right? And, you know, obviously, Eddie Alvarez kind of proved that in the second fight. It's a close fight, though. It was a close fight. That second one was a phenomenal fight, though. I fucking love that fight. Then I looked at another fight, Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Heartbreaking. It was his UFC debut. Interestingly enough, Dan had a lot of success with the leg kicks. I actually was watching that fight, even though Dan was getting backed up. I felt like Dan didn't get caught, and he got to fight that 15-minute fight. I think Dan would have won. And I know I'm a Dan Hooker fan, so, you know, just tell me to shut up. But still, it is what it is. He hurt him with the leg kick, and that's when Chandler was like, oh shit, I gotta get him out of here. And man, he hit him with the most, like, ungodly lead hook I've ever seen. He switched stance too in that moment, and just, oh man, knocked Dan the F out. And man, what a spectacular debut that was for him, obviously. And that's a common opponent him and Poirier have. You know, Poirier, it took Poirier, you know, 5 rounds to deal with Dan, and it took Chandler 1. So that, you know, that's the difference, right? Right then and there. And then obviously Justin Gaethje, right? Justin Gaethje. Oh my God, what a war. Another common opponent Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler have. But the only difference is Dustin beat Justin Gaethje, and I feel like this is why I ultimately got to pick Dustin, is because of this fight here. Man, like, how, you know, how do you mess this up? You know what I'm saying? How do you mess this match? This is the most perfect matchup for a guy like Michael Chandler. If you go watch his Brett Primus fights, if you watch some of his older fights in Bellator, he wrestled. He was never scared to wrestle. But for some odd reason, I don't know what happened in the UFC, but he just decided not to wrestle anymore. And in this fight, I mean, he had success. He hurt Gaethje. He really did. He hurt him with the 1-2. He wobbled him in the first round. They were brawling. It was a good fight. But I gave the first round to Gaethje. Not Gaethje, Chandler. But then not Chandler. I'm getting them mixed up. Justin, right? I'm gonna say Justin. Justin started figuring out Chandler, right? And he was catching Chandler with this beautiful uppercut lead hook combo, right? And eventually, he caught him with it and dropped him bad in the second round. And he started figuring him out. And like I said, like as much as I like Chandler, as a fighter, he's a fun fight. Even though he broke my boy Dan, what I like about him is that he throws his shots, he looks for his shots, but when you figure him out, he's pretty predictable. And if he doesn't use his wrestling and all he got is his power and his speed, when that's all gone, it's pretty easy. I'm not saying it's easy to beat him, but you look at the top guys that have beaten him, like Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, they figure him out. You know what I'm saying? They end up figuring him out. And yeah, so, Justin started figuring him out, and Justin defended takedowns. Now, obviously, the leg kicks played a factor in those takedowns being so kind of weak, I would say. And eventually, Chandler had a moment in that third one where he was able to pick up Gaethje, but Gaethje ended up scrambling out. And again, Gaethje started figuring him out, landing overhands, beating the brakes off of Chandler in that third round. And I think Gaethje doesn't get enough credit for how he dissected Chandler in that fight. He obviously used the high guard. He just used a lot of slip counters, moving his head and throwing that, fucking uppercut hook combo just a lot of times. And yeah, I mean, he kind of exposed Chandler for having a very limited striking arsenal. That's how I feel. And obviously in his last fight, he decided to all right, y'all think I can't kick? Y'all think I can't throw front kicks? Man, he gave Tony Ferguson one of the greatest front kick knockouts of all time in his most recent fight. Man, this fight, man, Tony fans were so happy about this fight, and I wish he would have kind of retired on this one. It's just the problem is the KO is so bad, but Tony had success. He had a lot of success, and this to me is the you gotta pick Dustin Poirier, right? Because if Tony Ferguson in 2022 is having success against you, it's a bad look. And the issue with, like I said, the issue with this fight, and the reason why Tony dropped Chandler in the first round, I'm going to explain it to you. First of all, it's the length of Tony is what played a factor in that. And the fact that he's predictable, right? All he fucking does, I'm telling you, he's fast. He's fast as fuck. All right, for a 36-year-old, he's fast. And he's explosive as a motherfucker. And he hits hard. But what does he really have? He has a good lead hook, a good cross. He can switch stance from southpaw, which makes him a problem where you don't know, okay, where's the power hand coming from now? And he hits the body really well. But he doesn't set up his body strikes with a jab or any feints, really. He just goes for it, right? And if you go look at that, he goes to the body, right? And then Chandler kind of moves him with, Tony kind of moves him with his jab and then throws the two. Or it was like a hook, then two, right? And he caught him. It's because even Tony, a guy that's horribly defensively, like a horrible defensive fighter, right, does get hit. That's all he does. Was able to figure that out, all right? Because it's not fucking rocket science. If you're that predictable, right, you don't set up those crazy explosive, fast strikes, you're gonna get hurt. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how fast you are. You still gotta set it up with a feint or something, or a jab or something like that. If I'm gonna hit you to the body with a cross, I'm gonna jab and then go down to the. You know what I'm saying? That's what you should do. And he has that issue. Obviously he just goes for it. But eventually he did the smart thing and he shot for a beautiful double leg in that first round, got him down, and then that second round. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Oh man, he murdered him. He murdered him with the greatest front kick KO of all time. Tony died, bro. Tony passed away at that moment. He died. I'm sorry to my Tony fans, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm kind of spitting on your grave right now. But he died. And now we're here to the Dustin Poirier fight, and it's interesting. It is interesting that they are fighting, and man, Chandler probably coming off one of the greatest KOs of his life. But if we look at Dustin Poirier, though, and his resume, and obviously this film study I looked at, obviously you guys know how I do it. I look at it like, okay, who has some success against Dustin Poirier, and how does that go with Chandler and stuff like that. And yeah, so here's the thing. I looked at the Eddie Alvarez fight, the second Eddie Alvarez fight with Dustin Poirier, another common opponent. And man, he had some success. Eddie threw some really good body shots. Was able to get, Dustin did, go for the guillotine, but he was able to get on top of him, kind of, have some good work. Eventually, what's his name? Eddie was able to get a takedown, and he put on some good work, I felt like, and he was having a good round. And there's a lot of things that I think Chandler can learn from this Eddie Alvarez fight, is that the body shots are there, the takedowns are there. That's the biggest thing about this whole entire fight. If Chandler decides to wrestle, he will win this fight. And he has to wrestle offensively, consistently, and chain wrestle. I felt like that's what Eddie was planning on doing. And then that 12-6 elbow fucking screwed him. Oh man, did it ever screw some. I felt so bad for Eddie. Because I was watching it, I was like, man, he was doing good. He was really doing good. And I truly, I say this about basketball, momentum is everything. And I truly believe that in fighting. Momentum is everything. And when you get momentum taken away from you, it's almost debilitating. Like, those takedowns weren't easy for Eddie to get. And I'm not going to say, like, Dustin can't defend a takedown. He defended some takedowns from Eddie Alvarez. But my God, like, that was a phenomenal takedown he got, and he was controlling. He had a mount against the cage. 12-6 elbow took everything. And then when they started standing back up, obviously Dustin Poirier used that momentum on his side, landed a beautiful knee, and then started catching Eddie and finished Eddie. And we already knew Eddie at that point in his career, he was coming off that Conor McGregor loss. And obviously that war with Justin Gaethje even prior to that. It was tough, for him to go and, make another run like he did before. It's going to be tough. And Dustin Poirier ended up beating him and started ending that rivalry. Good on Dustin. It's a good win for him to have. It's on his resume. But yeah. And then obviously, after the Eddie Alvarez fight, I looked at the Dan Hooker fight that with Dustin Poirier, another common opponent, him and Michael Chandler had. And completely different fight with both guys. Dan Hooker had so much success against Dustin Poirier in this fight. It's insane. It makes me sad. It's like, man, where is this Dan Hooker at? You know what I'm saying? We need this Dan Hooker back. But, man, Dan was landing so many shots on him. Obviously, it was a great fight, and they both were having a lot of success. But those first 3 rounds, my God, Dan was having a lot of success with the striking. Just, oh, man, he was landing 1-2s and body shots. And I remember in that second round, he almost had him out of there, man. He had him out of there, bro. Like, fucking, oh my God, man. Just a few more seconds. It's over. It's fucking over. And even in that third round, Dan was having success, landing takedowns and top control and stuff like that. Credit to Dustin. I mean, he had his submission attempts and stuff like that. But even in that fourth round, Dan was landing takedowns, a lot of takedowns, and Dan's not even a grappler like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to look at for the Chandler fight. My God, if Chandler can get half of the takedowns that Dan Hooker was getting, man, he might have a chance to really win this fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dustin Poirier made Dan Hooker look like Dan fucking Gable. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was insane what I was watching. And obviously, Dustin Poirier in those 4th and 5th rounds showed him championship grit and, really started breaking Dan. And obviously, Dan's cardio failed him. And, Dustin really started putting it on him and was beating the crap out of Dan. And obviously, if you look at who took more damage, it was Dan, with all due respect to my guy Hooker. And, yeah, obviously, Dustin ended up winning that one, but it was tough, man. And it was just stylistically, he had some problems, right? Then I looked at another fight. His name is Michael Johnson versus Dustin Poirier. This is a long time ago. It's like almost 6 or 7 years ago. I'll never forget this card, man. I remember this was like, I think was it in Charlotte? I don't know if it was in Charlotte, but I remember that card. Derek Brunson had knocked out Uriah Hall, man. That was an awesome card. But this card, ooh, Michael Chandler, man, is actually teammates with Michael Johnson, bro. So there's some things that Michael Johnson can give to Chandler. And they both have similar kind of backgrounds. Former wrestlers that turned into MMA fighters and are really, really comfortable with their hands. Obviously, Michael's more of a striker and doesn't even really shoot for takedowns. But Chandler, he'll shoot for a takedown, you know what I'm saying? Like he used to. But, man, he caught him with a beautiful, was it 3-2 combo, like, or 2-3-2, like, it's crazy, just caught him. And, Chandler has that style of coming in and coming out. You look at his Patricky fight, that he just came in there and just jumped in and just threw that cross and just caught him. Same thing with Sidney Outlaw. He did, a guy he trains at ATT, by the way. Same thing with Dustin Poirier. Caught him, right? So can Chandler do that to Dustin? There's a chance. You know, there's a legitimate chance that Chandler can catch him. But you don't know. It's a hard fight. And obviously Chandler's going to have to be on point. It's going to have to be on point. And obviously this was a long time ago, you know. This was a long time ago. This was what was the year this happened, man? This was in 2016. I was I think a sophomore in high school when this happened, you know what I'm saying? It was a while back. But man, like, that's a bad KO. That was a bad KO. And there's stuff that Chandler can learn from his teammate. You know what I'm saying? That there is an advantage there. And obviously Henry Hoop has experience coaching against Dustin Poirier. So it is a good look for him. And then obviously Dustin Poirier's last fight was against Charles Oliveira. And it was interesting. It was interesting what I saw that day. He fought a good fight. I think he did the best out of all. I think he did better than Chandler. I think he did better than Gaethje. He just fought dumb. They all fought dumb. They all fought dumb. He had a lot of success in that first round. He hurt Charles Oliveira multiple times. He dropped him. But then Charles started figuring him out, attacking the body, and a lot of knees to the body, front kicks to the body. And that's where Charles had a lot of success, breaking Dustin Poirier. Dustin showed some good takedown defense, I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, Charles is not the takedown guy that fucking Chandler is. I'll be honest there. And then, obviously, oh, my God. I know some people claim, what's his name, Charles grabbed the gloves. Maybe he did. But man, what did he do in that second round? What was Dustin thinking of going for that Granby roll when he literally had his arm there? He could have just took his arm out and stepped right back, but he went for a Granby roll, gave his back up, and was on bottom for the whole second round. And he was gassed. I mean, those knees to the body that Charles was landing completely broke him at that point. I think he was gassed, and Charles ended up taking his back and then choking him out. And Chandler, like, if I'm Chandler, if I'm in Chandler's team, Chandler submitted Eddie Alvarez. Not a lot of guys can say that, right? Chandler is wrestler strong. Chandler is literally unsubmittable. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't get submitted. Has good grappling, has great wrestling. If I'm in Chandler's team, you take this guy down. He does not like being on his back. He does not like being against the fence. He gets tired. Now, my only issue is with Chandler coming into this fight is, will he fight the smart fight? And I made that mistake with Justin Gaethje. I'm not making that mistake again. I thought he would fight the smart fight. I don't think he will. I really don't. And maybe he might try, but I think he might be even too old to do it. Maybe he might go for too many takedowns, and I think he just might lose this fight. Dustin Poirier has been a perennial top contender for a very long time. I felt like Dustin Poirier going in that matchup with Charles Oliveira was somewhat overrated, but let's not forget who that guy is, though. Like, all right, like, you can say what, I know there's some Conor fans that were salty, so that's why they were hating on him. That's why they were happy that Charles beat him. But here's the facts, all right? This man has been top 5 for at least the last 5 years. Or at least maybe the last 5 or the last 4. Okay? That's not easy. Alright? And look at the names that he's beaten. I'll just name them out. I want just the names he's beaten. He's beat Conor twice. Right? Obviously, you can say the injury in that. Dan Hooker, Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, Jim Miller, Bobby Green, fucking Yancy Medeiros, Diego Ferreira, like all these guys. These are phenomenal names. Max Holloway again. He beat him twice. That's a good resume. Those are good guys he's beaten. Like, as much as I think Chandler has a chance in this fight, I just cannot pick Chandler here. And I'm going to rock with Dustin Poirier by maybe 3rd round TKO. I think Dustin's going to work him. I think he's going to put that jab on him. And I think Chandler's actually going to try and go in there and bang with him. Then he's going to find out, man, this guy's too long and I can't reach him. He might start taking him down. And yeah, I could see Chandler getting some takedowns. Then I could see his cardio failing him a little bit. I know it's a 3-round fight, but I just think Dustin's he got this on lock, man. I'm sorry, y'all. I think he got this on lock. And Dustin Poirier's just, in my humble opinion, he's just a better fighter. And that's what it comes down to. And Chandler's he hasn't shown me good fight IQ. Dustin has shown me good fight IQ. Dustin will take his opponent down when he's told to. He will go for leg kicks when he's told to. Dustin's primarily a boxer, a good MMA boxer in there. When he fought Conor, they told him throw calf kicks. He threw them. He doesn't throw kicks. He sucks at I don't know what's wrong with his hips, but he sucks at them. All right, he's not built to throw kicks, but he did it because he knows game plans and strategies matter. That guy Chandler does not know what that fucking means. Okay, so I'm not picking him. Good on him for destroying Tony Ferguson's fan base and teaching them ultimate respect. But I'm rocking with Dustin Poirier here. There's levels to this shit. And I mean, hey, and obviously Will Brooks trains with Dustin Poirier, so that's another thing. So I think Dustin got this on the lock, but I got Dustin by 3rd round TKO. I think it's gonna be a good fight though. I think we're in for a treat. Hopefully we get a great fight, but I could even see Dustin finish him quick. You never know. Chandler's chin is kind of sus. But hope you guys enjoyed this video though. I'm rocking with Dustin Poirier by 3rd round TKO. Love y'all and goodbye. Your boy eBay is out of here. Subscribe, like, comment, and share the video. Obviously follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram. Let's get this eBay Fight Prediction Nation going. Love y'all and goodbye.